And my mom, because my dad worked overseas, and so when he was gone, we would listen to like my mom would just throw on like the Rolling Stones or Michael Jackson. And she was like, "Don't tell your father you're listening to this." So
my name's Adam, by the way, and this is about you, your journey in music, and we'll talk about the latest song, at least with NOBRO. And I know you guys just put an EP out last year, right?
Yeah, we did.
Awesome. First off, tell me, where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in a little town in the middle of Alberta called Ponoka. So lots of farming. It's like a big farming community. It's very, very small.
Okay. Well, it's a small farm town. Like, how would you, like at your school, how many people were in like your high school or whatever?
My high school, the high school that I ended up moving from that town when I was 15.
Oh, okay.
But I went to high school there for 1 year, but it was, I don't know, there was like 9 through 12. It was fairly small. I mean, my elementary school, that it was kindergarten through grade 5, had like 80 people in it or something like that.
Yeah, it is small.
Yeah, and they had to like combine the classes together.
Oh my God.
I did grade 5 twice because I was in grade 4, but then they moved me into a grade 5 class. Yeah, and then
like a combo class. I was in that too. I was in 2 of those things when I was growing up. But we had a big school, which I thought was weird. I just think we didn't have enough teachers and too many kids.
Oh, yeah.
So they stuffed, like, I took 3rd grade twice and 5th grade twice, basically.
Yeah. Did you ever ask your parents why they didn't just like bump you up? I asked my mom that. I was like, why didn't you just like send me off a year earlier? She's like, I don't know. I was like,
yeah, I don't even know if it was an option. I think they're just like, yeah, sorry, you're stuck in the combination class. Well, that's cool. And how did you get into music?
Oh my God. Well, I was a little late to the game. Well, I got into music. No, well, we were forced to play an instrument growing up. That was the rules of the house.
House rules, not like a school rule.
No, my parents were like, you have to play an instrument. And so I played the violin growing up. That was my instrument. But that's like miles away from what we do now.
Sure.
And then I found myself in Montreal when I was 21. And the origin story has something to do with a guy, which is really funny. But anyways, and then I met this guy who played in a band. I actually really loved his band, and I was a fan of his band before I met him. Mm-hmm. And then it was really, really hot one summer, and we were in his bedroom, and he had like a bedroom this size, and he had drums in it. He had like all these amps and all these guitars, and we were just stuck there because it was heat wave, and he had an AC unit in the window. And we just started writing music kind of spontaneously. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how to play the bass, but I was pretty familiar with how, like, a stringed instrument.
Yeah, sure.
So
you played violin, right?
Yeah. And then, so we wrote and recorded 12 songs in his bedroom. And then his manager asked us if we wanted to go play a show in New York. And so, yeah, in like a month. And so I just picked up the bass, and like, he taught me how to play it, and I was like singing it at the same time. And that was my first show. I was like 24 or something like that.
Whoa. Did you guys build a band around the songs that you wrote? Like, how do you have a band and go play this New York show?
Well, we just picked up a drummer and then just
you played together. Okay, I got you. So was his band playing there also? And then, or this was like a totally side project that kind of just spun out of Heat Wave.
It was just a side project, and then it became his main thing. And that's how I started learning the ropes of music and being on tour and stuff. And
okay.
Yeah.
That's rad. Well, I want to rewind it a little bit. What drew you to violin back when you started that?
Well, okay, so we weren't allowed to listen to the radio growing up. I'm going to make my parents sound really bad. But my dad is a very, very conservative guy. I mean, rural Alberta, it's a different place. It's very, very right-wing leaning. And my mom, she's from Indonesia.
Okay.
And so my dad was like, no, you know, pop, like he really wanted to steer us away from like pop culture and what was happening,
Right.
you know. And my mom, because my dad worked overseas, and so when he was gone, we would listen to like my mom would just throw on like the Rolling Stones or Michael Jackson, and she was like, "Don't tell your father you're listening to this." So, but anyway, so there was this compilation, because when he would come home, we'd have to like listen to something when we were driving around, and there was this compilation called Classical Kids, where they take famous composers and a lot of their big masterpieces, and they kind of weave in this narrative of like a child meeting Beethoven, and
cool.
you know, yeah, it is really cool. So my favorite one was the Vivaldi installment, because there's like parties. Venice always sounded really cool, and so I was like, and also like the myth of Stradivarius's. I was like, oh, that's so crazy. So that's why I chose violin.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a beautiful instrument. My wife loves the sound of violin. Neither of us could play it, but she's like such a sucker for songs that have violin in them.
Yeah, I mean, if you play it well, for sure.
Yeah. So how long did you play violin for? Did you do it all through school?
Yeah, I was like 5 or 6 when I started. Okay. And then by the time high school rolled around, I kind of like had other interests.
Of course. So. You said you moved out of where you were living at 15 did you move to a bigger city, or where did you move to?
Yeah, we moved to a bigger city because where are you? Where are you located?
I'm in Nashville now, but I grew up pretty much my whole life in I grew up my whole life in California, but 90% of it was in Southern California. I'm from San Diego.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, but now my family and I, we moved to Nashville.
It's a nice place to live.
We love it. Yeah, we love it here. It's amazing.
That's cool. Are you familiar with Canadian geography? Because I know a lot of
actually, just based off the amount of people I've interviewed from Canada, a little bit.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Like I'm terrible with geography because most Americans never leave America because I don't know why. Very not well traveled. I guess I'm generalizing, but as far as I'm not very well traveled, but I understand where a lot of Canada is, just because based off a lot of musicians I've interviewed from Canada.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, sometimes when you talk to people, they're like, Alberta, that's down south, and you're like, no, that's like way
north.
Yeah. So yeah, we moved to a bigger city. It's called Calgary. It's about 2 hours south of Ponoka. Okay. Because when you grow up in a small town, like the winters are long. And you need to fill the time up with something constructive. So I played hockey, and I was very good. Yes. And I became quite good at hockey. And so I was scouted by the time I was 14. And I had already that year tried out for the Vancouver Griffins, which was like at the time it was part of the National Women's Hockey League. I was
really
so wow. Yeah, so from there I got scouted, and then we moved to Calgary because I was accepted into a training program. It was for like it was legit I think it was like the silver group, but it was like a junior group, and then the gold group was Team Canada. I trained at the Olympic Oval in Calgary.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So you're pretty close to being a professional hockey player.
My life got derailed when I moved to Calgary because I met so many different other kinds of people, and my friends, like the people that I ended up meeting, they were like, have you ever heard of Black Sabbath and like smoked weed? And I was like, no, I don't know what this is, but it sounds awesome.
Right.
And then I became like a typical teenager, and I didn't really have the much
Black Sabbath and weed come in and just you hung up the skates.
I still played, and I ended up moving to another school. It was like a sports academy in my final year, and a lot of interest started to dwindle, because by that time a lot of the people that I was playing with were getting full scholarships and stuff like that, and my my concentration was kind of waning, and the offers that were coming in were less and less. And but I still went through it. I wrote my SATs, and I was trying to get into a school in the States, but it just wasn't working. And I ended up going and playing university hockey for a year at the U of at the University of Saskatchewan. And my parents thought it was a good idea because it was like, Saskatchewan is so far away from anything. It's like its own little planet because it's in the middle of nowhere.
That's what I've heard. You know the band Rare Americans? They're from Canada too. Their singer was a hockey guy, and I think he might have moved there. Like he was on some like minor league team that wasn't quite the NHL, and he ended up quitting, and now he's in a big band called Rare Americans. But he did. I think he went there too. He was like, yeah, and then they traded me to this team, and it was in the middle of nowhere. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you have to get shipped out to one of those like Saskatchewan or Manitoba, it's just kind of like, oh my God, it's so hard because there's nothing out there. I mean, my parents were super happy. They were like, okay, bye, and then just kind of drove off. And I was like, no, don't leave me here. But yeah, it's hard to get into trouble out there. It's very hard.
You're just isolated. Yeah, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah. And you study and you play hockey, and that was kind of my life.
That's all there is to do.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing how big Canada is. I think people like take that for granted, and a lot of it's just like rural area, isn't it?
Oh my God, yeah. Driving, like when we go on tour, if you go from Manitoba to Ontario, like the show would be in Winnipeg and then your next show is in Toronto. It takes like 32 hours to get there. Yes,
really?
Drive. Yes.
Oh,
it's like
wow.
3 days. Yes, between shows. Yes, it's horrible.
I didn't realize that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I guess I'm not as familiar with the geography as I thought I was. Wow. It's similar to like Australia, where there's like 4 cities that you can play, and massive country to
go across. Yes. It's big. Canada's a big place.
Wow. Okay. So you're shipped off, and you're going to college at this point. Okay. And then how do you get back to Montreal and have the band form? And tell me where the Mets thing comes into play.
Oh my God, this is like way later.
It was okay.
So I'm gonna go from the hockey place, because it chronologically has to make sense.
Yes, let's hear it.
And I'm a little older, so I have to maybe preface what I'm about to say, because I don't know, people think I'm a lot younger, and so whenever I talk about my life, they're like, how old are you? But so this is like,
I'm sure I'm much older than you, so it's okay.
I don't know. So, I was in university, and then I quit hockey, and then I just got out of there. I was like, you know what, fuck this place, fuck going to school, fuck everything. And then I moved to Vancouver.
What gave you that attitude, real quick, before we get into moving?
I just wasn't happy. And my last hockey game, it was such a shame how it all ended. I don't know why. It was kind of like, I guess I've always been just like a person a little bit on the outside, and the coach that I had didn't really appreciate my proclivities or whatever, or who I was. Sure. And like I would get punished for weird things. Like I scored our only goal, and then he sat me for like the entire game. I don't know. It was
what?
And then yeah.
How dare you get points for our team?
I don't know. I just feel like I got picked, and then just kind of being like, I don't know, just an example to be made up. Yeah. So our last game was before playoffs, and we weren't going to make playoffs. And I was out on the ice, and we were warming up, and then a Zamboni comes and whatever does to the ice, and then you have to like go back to your change room. And then I got called into the coach's office, and they were like, Kathryn, you're not playing. Undress and sit, and you have to go sit in the bleachers. And I was just like, what? Like, why? And they're like, there's no explanation at all. They were just like, go. And so I had to take off, and I walked back, and my whole team was there, and I had to take off all my equipment in front of everyone. And then I went and sat in.
And they're probably like, "What the hell are you doing?" And you're like, "Ah,
yeah,
wow.
I don't know." And it was just like, I don't know, I was so angry because, you know, up until that point, like, hockey was my entire life, and I didn't like, I mean, I don't know. I didn't appreciate how it ended. And I get it, like, team sports, or maybe it was just, I know it was me. I'm not like a team person, you know, like, I don't like wearing the jacket. We had to wear these jackets. I never liked having the jacket and stuff.
All the little things.
I don't know. I loved how competitive it was. I loved the sport, but I didn't like just the other side of it. Anyway, so after that happened, I was like devastated, and I was like, fuck this, I'm out. So I quit.
Did you ever figure out what you did?
I didn't even ask. I was like, I'm not gonna stick around. Yeah, I was just like,
I would have been so curious. Like, what did I possibly do?
I was like, I knew it was just me. I don't think they liked me.
Okay.
So, yeah. And I don't know. I was just like, I was so angry. And when you're just seeing red like that, I just wanted to like leave. So I quit hockey, and then I moved to Vancouver. And then I started exploring like an alternative lifestyle that was kind of like away from school and all this structure and all that kind of stuff. And then I lived there for a little bit. And then I kind of woke up one morning and I was like, I don't want to be here either. So I packed like a little bag, and then I went on a Greyhound bus when they were still operating, and I went down the West Coast, and I stopped in a couple places, and then I ended up in San Francisco.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just had like a little bag, you know, staying at a hostel, and then I went to I went to a computer cafe. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Pay $5. Anyways, Acid Mother's Temple was playing, because at that point I was getting really into stoner rock and psychedelic music. And they were playing at Bottom of the Hill, and so I walked Bottom of the Hill.
I love that venue.
It's a great venue. And then up on the hill there was a coffee shop. I forget what it's called, but it was on Potrero Hill. And then I met this guy there, and he was like, "You're either Christian or Canadian because you're so polite." And I was like, "I'm Christian. I mean, I'm Canadian." And then he ended up he played in a band, and he was like, "You should come to my show." And then like a week later, we were getting matching tattoos. It's so crazy to think about that now, but we were getting matching tattoos like a week later. And and then
was that your first tattoo?
It was my second. I got my first when I was skipping high school.
Okay. So you had one before. Okay. It's a great story.
Oh my God. I was so stupid. And then I decided to come to Montreal like quickly after that to keep pursuing a degree. So that's how I ended up here and meeting
the
other guy.
San Francisco thing just kind of like fizzled out after the tattoos and.
Well, no, because I came out here for a year, and then I went back there for a summer because he was going on tour with his noise punk band, and it was like a city's month and a half or something like that, all through the States. And it was all like super duper DIY, like super DIY, like shaking people down for $6 DIY, you know, getting skaties DIY. And and he wanted to go on, yeah. And so I had a car, and I was like, well, I'll like take you on tour, why not? So then I went down to California, I drove down there, and then I picked them up, and then we drove all across the States together. Yeah, in this like little car on tour. And that was the first tour. I didn't play music, but I was just absorbing.
You're on a tour. Wow.
Yeah. And it was terrifying. Like I was just like, oh my God, DIY is like so hardcore. Like it was kind of scary sometimes, you know, you're just like cut off, you have no money, you're just in the middle of nowhere. Like I saw him cry, you know, like I saw like a full grown man cry. And it was the first time that I'd ever seen that. And I was just like, man, being in a band is so hard. And I was like, I'm never going to be in a band. And here
you are.
Yeah.
Okay. So once you get back from the tour, then how much later down the line do you start writing songs?
It was like right after that. It was just almost like right after that. It was
you saw the DIY tour and you're like, I'm in. This is what I want to do.
It's like, I'm in, but I'm in with some conditions. I was like, if you go on the road, it's so funny because people think being in a band is like, you're a total fuck up and you're irresponsible, but being in a band is like the exact opposite. Like you show up, you're prepared, you're on time, like, you take care of your bandmates. Like,
yeah, I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. It's like you have to put on this persona like you don't care, and that like you can, because a lot of people just assume like, oh, you can just get up there and get wasted and act dumb, and it's like, well, a lot of the art, like I'm trying to, like No Effects, for example, like you don't think Fat Mike has spent his entire life like focusing on his craft and doing what he's doing so he can put that show on. Like, I mean, that's just how it takes. Yeah. You don't walk out there and be like, oh yeah, I want to be the guy that just gets up there and parties and, draws thousands of people to my show for no reason at all.
It's no coincidence that successful bands are successful.
Right.
They probably worked really hard to get there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry. So okay, where was I now that I went on a tangent? You're in the band, you decided you want to do this, but obviously a little bit more extravagant than the DIY tour.
It didn't start off like that. It was just kind of like when my first band broke up because it just wasn't working anymore. Like when I started NOBRO, it was kind of like, you're just out there just playing shows like around Montreal and yeah, just trying to be as like on the ball as possible. Because even in my first band, I noticed it was like things started off really good and then it started like dwindling, and then all of a sudden you're just like in these like weird towns in northern Quebec and like no one's there but the guy who owns a venue is like playing saxophone, you know what I mean, for 20 minutes on one of your songs, and you're just like, what's going on? Like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? And so, yeah, there was a lot of lessons.
Wait, I love your band. You mind if I get up here and solo with my saxophone for 20 minutes?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And you're just like, it's like the fear of that ever happening again just like pushes you to be like, all right, I cannot settle for this ever. Like, if I'm gonna do this, if we're gonna do this, we've got to swing for the fucking fences,
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of what happened.
So was this first band the one that you had formed and went to play the New York show?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then NOBRO started how much longer after that? Like how long was that first band around?
Oh, only a couple years. We wrote like 2 albums.
Wow.
And it started off really well, and then it just kind of like, because he was like also my partner. We were dating, and we also got matching tattoos. So, oh my god. And I don't know, maybe I should also say that like during this part of my life, like I was very steeped into like drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was not thinking clearly. And this happened, yeah. So after that band broke up, there was a little bit of a delay, and then NOBRO started because I was like, there was a little bit of time, and then I was like, oh, I need to make something happen. Like everybody always introduced me as this person's ex-girlfriend because he was like quite well known in the Montreal music community. And they're like, this is Kathryn, so-and-so's ex-girlfriend. I was like,
oh, ouch.
Fuck. I was like, fuck this, And also like, I never really got credit for the songs, that were written in that other band. And he went on to start like a new band, and they were gaining quite a bit of traction. And I was just so like angry. It was like that hockey experience all over. I was like in the change room, like humiliated, getting undressed again. I was like, fuck this. So I just started this band. I was like, I'm gonna start a band and I'm gonna own my own name and I'm gonna like get credit. I just want to be like a part of the band that I was in. And so that's kind of how this came about. And luckily there was a lot of other females that also felt the same way and were like, fuck this too. So
yeah, I was gonna ask, did you want to start it as an all-female band?
100%, absolutely. Okay. Because every time I talk to like a woman, they would have similar experiences like I did. They were like, I mean, Sarah, like the drummer, she was just like, people would go up to her and be like, if I close my eyes, you sound like a man. It's just
right.
Just weird, micro aggressive comments here and there, and just kind of like deflates you, just like these little jabs that you feel over time. And
well, it's like how, just like, it's like how if you're, I feel like for females, it's harder to say you're a producer.
Like, oh my God. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I have a MacBook Pro with GarageBand and you're a guy, you're like, I'm a producer. Like, are you? What have you produced? Yeah. Like you could drop a loop onto your timeline, but like for females, it's like you have to almost like prove yourself even more to say that you're a producer. It's just blows my mind.
Yeah, it's so funny, like having these kinds of like say with my 77-year-old, conservative father. He watched the music video for Better Each Day, and we're, taking down like the monolith, and he's like, right, Kathryn, is this supposed to represent now that you're woke? I'm like, Dad, yeah, we're trying to like smash the patriarchy. And he's like, why on earth would anyone ever want to do that? I was like, Dad.
Is he supportive of the band?
I mean, yeah. It's so funny. I talk about him like that, but I tried to convince him that he was the most progressive person I've ever met. I tried to use like reverse psychology on him because he married my mother, who is from Indonesia, and she grew up Muslim. And wow. She's like clearly a person of color. Like she's an immigrant Muslim person of color, brings her over to Canada, like, cause she was like, it's really hard in Indonesia, and they met and they fell in love. And my mom is so brave because she was like in her early 20s, and I couldn't even imagine moving across the world and leaving my whole family. But she did that. And the minute they got married, my dad, he like went to the bank and made her an equal partner in everything that they do. He taught her how to he went and got her driver's license, and was like, just wanted to give her as much independence and freedom as she wanted. Well, not him give it, but like encourage her to pursue it.
Support it. Right.
Yeah. And, we didn't grow up with like gender rules in our house. Like I was allowed to, have short hair and play hockey. And, he was the one who like pushed me to, really kind of explore different avenues, especially things that weren't like, especially in the 80s in a small town. He was like, you want to play hockey and you want to cut your hair and you want to wear baggy overalls, like just do it, So, and a lot of people didn't look too favorably on it. It was like different. Sure. And so I keep trying to convince him that he's the most progressive person I know. He's not buying it though. He's not buying it.
That's funny. That is funny. Okay, so the band, how do you find the other ladies in the band? You put
they're awesome.
Out or?
How do I find them? I met the original drummer just through some friends, and then the original guitar player I knew before, but she played bass. I didn't know she shredded the guitar. And then that's kind of how the first formation started. And then the first drummer, she was playing in different bands, and she decided to pursue this other thing. And I was like, listen, this has to happen. It's either like us or that. And I just asked her to leave because I took it very seriously right from the beginning. It sounds horrible, but sometimes you have to like make hard choices if you want to keep moving forward. So found Sarah, the now drummer, and she's been like, to me, she's like the original member because she's been there. We've been together for so long now. And then Lizanne, when Mariana, the guitar player, she wanted to go live on a goat farm in Vancouver because
that's an interesting choice.
Yeah, and we were like getting to this point where, you know, we were starting getting booked for bigger shows and we were taking it more seriously. And it's hard to commit. Like, it's hard to commit your life to this because it's stressful. There's no guarantees, you know, like,
right.
It's an emotional fucking roller coaster, and you have to be on the road, and that's hard enough. And she was like, this isn't for me. Like, this isn't for me. And so we were heartbroken. Like, I was devastated because we were like best friends and we had such a close relationship, but you know, she had to live her truth and go live on a goat farm. And and it was like right before our biggest show, because we got booked for this big festival on the main stage. And so we quickly had to find another guitar player, and in doing so we ended up getting Lizanne. She's actually Sarah's girlfriend, the drummer. She played so she played bongos, and we're like, oh shit, like bongos should be part of the band. And then she picked up the keyboards and just learned how to play keyboards, and that's how she started in this. And then that formation happened for a while, and then the guitar player, it's just like, I feel like I wish that we had like a fairy tale kind of beginning, but we don't. It's a lot of different members and things like that through time. Anyways, and then that guitar player left, and then we have Caro, the now new guitar player. So
okay. And when did the band form? Like what year?
2016, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been at it for a while.
Okay. And you just put your first like full body of work came out last year though, right? Sick Hustle. Okay.
Yeah.
So you just did what was like the next, like, you know, you said you got on that big festival. Like after that, what was the next like big milestone for the band?
We got to go on tour with Fiddler. So
oh wow, I've interviewed them. They're great guys.
Yeah, it was really cool. I just DM'd them on Instagram.
Really?
Yes. Yes. You never know. I mean, the worst case scenario is that people are going to say no. But we had recorded a bunch of music. Like, we have a lot of unreleased material, and we were shopping around to labels, and we caught some interest, and then it started fading really, really fast. And I was like, oh my God, like our band's over, because like we hadn't released anything in a long time, and people just seemed to like, the interest was seeming to just like dwindle. Our live shows were still awesome and it was great, but it was like we needed an extra push. Like, we needed something to happen. And I was like desperate, like DM'd Fiddler, and then Zach got back to me like a couple months later, and he was like, I want to produce you guys. And so I was like, we don't have any money, but like, I'll find money. Come to Montreal. You can sleep in my apartment, whatever. And he's like, okay, sick. And then that plan didn't work out. But then he was like, do you guys want to come on tour? And we were like, yes. And he's like, do you have a van? I was like, no. He's like, do you have visas? I was like, no. He's like, how are you going to make this happen? I was like,
figure it out.
I'm just going to figure it out. And so I worked that whole summer just like so hard, bought a van, got visas, like, and then we went on the road. Yeah. And that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my
God. That was our first big tour. Yeah.
That's crazy. And you did the States with Fiddler?
Yeah. Yeah. We did we did like Minneapolis all the way down to New Orleans.
That is huge. And I'm sure that got a lot of eyes on the band. Yes,
but not enough. Not enough.
So, okay. When do enough eyes come?
It was like after that it was like January, February, something was happening. So we got back from the tour, and then it's just like something that happens when you're on tour, you get really high. Like you feel this like crazy euphoria every single night. And then when you stop, it stops and it's a horrible feeling. And as a person who's like, you know, kind of like has had some issues with some like substances before, it's like one of those things where you like stop and then your whole world comes crashing down. And that's what it felt like. Sure. And then we didn't really have any prospects after that for a little while. And then we started talking to Dine Alone again. And then they were like, you know, we really want to work with you, but like your songs and stuff need a bit more work and like whatever. And I thought, yeah, like I was open to anything at that time. Like I understand some people are like, no one can touch my music. This is who I am, whatever. And that's right. So not me. Like I'm always open to criticism. Well, people who I respect, I'm open to their criticism.
Right.
And I'm always looking to get better and to improve. And a lot of that means like having really difficult conversations sometimes, or opening yourself up to experiences that, like, I'm not like a DIY. I am DIY, but I'm also like, let's do it together, you know, kind of person. And so they were like, maybe you should, you know, get in touch with some people in LA just to do like a songwriting workshop, and work with this producer in Toronto who's really great, who did our first EP. And so from there, we started kind of like galvanizing what was going to become the first EP, and really, you know, getting extra help and support to make that whole thing happen. And it was like opening a big door, well, like an emotional door, you know, because it was like all of a sudden we unlocked things that were inside of us that other people kind of just like brought out of us. And then after that we got signed, which was amazing. And then we went on another tour, and then and so from there it just kind of was
what year did you guys sign with Dine Alone?
2009. Oh, I think we signed 2019.
Oh, okay. So you had all this momentum going, and then the rug is pulled out from under you with COVID, sounds like.
Yeah, it was horrible.
But I mean, obviously it didn't stop you. You have new music out. You're doing huge tours. I mean, Billy Talent coming up, and the Rise Against tour, like it's huge stuff. But so how, like, I mean, you're getting this momentum going, and then COVID happens. And did you have the record going at this point, or was it like, where were you at as far as where were you guys when that came?
Oh my God. We were just finishing a tour. It was so funny. It was because I'm a bartender and I work like 4 or 5 nights a week. And it's really like a thankless job in a lot of ways. But so we were like on tour with the Distillers and Alexisonfire. January 2020. It was like mid-January. We are in Vancouver. It's our first arena tour. Finished the last song, last chord. Bye everyone, we'll see you later. And we walk off stage, and I'm like, oh, maybe I won't have to like bartend forever, or at least like I can cut down my shifts because we were getting so busy. And I was like, things are gonna be all right. It was like pandemic central, and I was like, fuck, man. But I mean, it was all right. We're very fortunate to live in Canada and have the resources that we had during that time.
Yeah.
So
wow. Okay, so did you finish that tour then? You finished the tour with Alexisonfire and Distillers?
Yeah, and then shortly after.
Shortly after was, so a couple months, after that you guys got done with the tour is when everything shut down.
Yeah. We had a lot of big plans too, and then it all seemed to dissolve.
Wow. When did you guys start putting together the record, or Sick Hustle? Was that already in the works?
Yeah, it was just like, it was recorded in 2019. So it was like the spring, beginning of summer of 2019, and then January 2020 was the tour there.
And when did you put the record out? January?
March 2020. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So after COVID, you didn't know.
Our single was called "Don't Die," and we didn't know if it was like
two up the middle.
It was like the timing couldn't have been fucking. It couldn't have been worse, you know, for a single like that. So,
okay.
then we decided just to do it. We're like, fuck it, it's fine. Fuck it, let's do it live. You know, we had that moment.
Okay. And what do you guys work on during so now you're stuck at home. How do you continue to keep relevant or whatever?
That's really hard. I mean, we recorded another EP in this, like in last summer. And then, yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, it's so, I know that a lot of people took the time to like write and really take advantage of it. I, however, was not one of those people. It's like, I found it actually really hard. I found that, you know, I couldn't write anything unless things were happening. Like I need to have like
life experiences.
Yeah, like things just can't happen in a vacuum. And I mean, I could write songs about my cat all day, but I don't think that's very fun to listen to. But yeah, I found that, you know, starting to go back to work, especially like being in a bar, you rub up against so many different kinds of people, and I'm a very reactionary person. And so, you know, if someone's like rude or whatever, you have like an emotion, you're like, oh, I like that emotion, I'm just gonna like ride with it, or write a song about it. So
probably a lot of material in the bar.
Absolutely. 100%. So do
you have because you just released a song called Better Each Day, and is that going to be on this EP that you've completed, or
yeah
okay,
yeah,
so this is just songs. The first, is this the second song from it? Was Lala, is that a part of it also?
That was just a single before the first EP, but this is a single. Better Each Day is a single for the next EP.
The second one. Okay, cool. Yeah. Very cool. So, and you have some huge stuff coming up too. So obviously it didn't stop you guys completely. I mean, you have Billy Talent Rise Against tour, and Pup's on a tour with you guys and Billy Talent. Talk to me about that.
Well, that's pretty crazy. We met, like, it's so funny. So Pup, in my first band, Pup actually opened for us.
Really?
Yeah, and that's when they were known as Topanga, and so that's how I knew those guys. And wow. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
They did that viral video early on, right? With Zoom, where people were like showing. Did you see this? So like,
I don't think I saw that.
Okay, in the beginning, where everyone was putting out like the together at home type videos where they're playing, and it was like totally edited, and people thought it was like live, being like, you know, we're all in. If you and I were playing together, it would be like perfectly in sync and go out to the world. And they're like, this is why no one does these live. And they all played a song together, and they put it out on Facebook, and it was just like this swirling noise sound. It was really funny, and then it ended up picking up like quite a bit of traction. It was just them making fun of the fact that like all these videos you're seeing right now are all like way produced.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I love those guys. They're so funny. But yeah, they're kind of like a perspective on the world. They're very like brutal, honest. Mm-hmm. I mean, and they're very hardworking and extremely nice people. So yeah, they're cool. Amazing.
I mean, you have some big shows coming up with them, but obviously Rise Against and Billy Talent there, and then with Pup and Billy Talent, on the West Coast?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And have you played a show yet, or are these going to be your first ones?
We're going to go actually on tour in a few weeks with Tokyo Police Club. So those will be
first. I did see that too. They're a rad band as well.
Yeah. And we did play a couple like festivals in the summertime just around Quebec, which was fun, but it was, you know, it's different. It's a different kind of rock concert, a very safe rock concert, but
a socially distanced rock concert.
Yes.
I'm sure those are a bit different than being in a sweaty club.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Do you know when the record's coming out?
Yes, it's March. I think.
March. Right on.
I think.
It's all good.
No, or maybe it's January. No, I can't remember. They're gonna kill me because they keep sending me timelines, and I keep I think it's March. No, I think it might be January. Anyways, it's one of those.
It'll be on your Instagram at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's all good. That is awesome. And I thank you so much, Kathryn, for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no problem. Sorry, I just woke up, so and I'm not good in the mornings.
No, this has been awesome. You've been great. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. I'm also not used to doing interviews just because it's like, I'm not used to it, but I just feel like I just talk too much. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't ask any questions. Like, how are you doing? Are you okay?
You don't need to ask me any questions. No one cares about me.
I just feel like I just talked about myself for so long.
Well, that's what people want to hear. They want to hear your story. They don't care about mine.
But I don't even care about.
Well, I have one more question for you before I let you go. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Oh my God. Do I have any advice?
Mm-hmm.
I know that I have some advice. What would the advice be? I don't know. It's not what it's supposed, like, I guess my advice would be like, no matter what happens in your life, especially in music, it's never gonna perfectly line up with the vision that it is, and that's okay. Like this Rise Against Philly Talent pub tour, like the minute I found out that we got that tour, I was like working at the bar and I was telling the kitchen guy who was like at the bar sitting drinking, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Like things are really turning around for us. Maybe I won't have to like bartend like 5 nights a week. And then the bus girl just comes up to me and she's like, someone just puked in the bathroom. I was like, fuck, you know, like I had to like just put on my gloves, and like literally seconds after was like cleaning puke out of a bathroom. And I was like, this is what it is. Like, this is always what it's like. It's like you have these like amazing triumphant moments, and then life comes and just like grabs you and pulls you back down. And that's what it is over and over and over again. And it's, at least for me, and it's never going to be this like, you know, when in movies when they just fade to black, you know, it's like, like you made it and it fades to black. Like it, yeah, that happens like 15 million times, and you just have to keep going and going and going. There's no end to it, you know? You just have to keep trying harder and harder and keep working at it.
Bringing it backward.